What's crazy to me is that no matter how many times as a society we see the ultimate destructiveness of handing over whole systems to these wealthy individuals, we do it again and again because the glamour and romanticism that attaches to a wealthy man, to a hyper-wealthy man in our society is just infinite, and it seems to blind whoever comes close to it. And either there's the instinct that I think some mayors had when they were looking at the Boring Company. They were like, oh, I'll have proximity to this power, right? And that's going to get me something, right? And so they're willing to make that deal. But when they make that deal, and when we all make that deal that like, okay, we're going to stay inside this system that this oligarch runs, then what are we losing? What are we giving up? And what are we blinding ourselves to, right? And I think that sort of striving for access to power and wealth, it becomes its own end. And then the politicians, for instance, who are supposed to be making rational decisions on behalf of their citizens, stop making those decisions rationally because they think, oh, well, maybe we can get this guy to create a new system. I mean, people did this with Donald Trump, by the way, in New York in the 1980s. They were like, oh, he's going to be able to fix it.
It's like a savior complex, right? It's like these guys are presented as sort of like messianic savior figures, which I think our culture really seeks out and wants. And if you're a politician who has like complex problems to solve, or you're a person in a democracy who like has to like do, it's like, oh my God, it's going to be so hard to get everybody to agree on this. Just sort of like going to the savior figure is such an seemingly easy move. And currently our saviors appear to be these oligarch guys, which is crazy. Like the notion that they're going to be doing something, for the collective good.
And I think maybe to bring it back to, transit and transportation and what we knew ahead of everybody else about Elon, he was pretty open about how much he hated public transportation, right? He'd talk about when you take the bus or the subway, you're sitting next to a potential serial killer. And those are things that he would say in interviews. We know that the Hyperloop program, all the money that was spent in various locations exploring this idea is money that could have gone to transit and was, not just like a missed opportunity, but very much like a purposeful misallocation of funds so that like nobody would invest in transit. And that was kind of part of his explicit plan to just get rid of transit. Like if he could really snap his fingers, Thanos style, right, it would be gone.
Well, and of course, these are such self-reinforcing ideas, right? The idea that public transport is something that you want to avoid because it puts you in contact with other people, that is exactly what leads you to not understand other people, to feel separate from other people. Like that, the whole thing just is this self-reinforcing thing where the less you're with other people, the scarier they are and the more that you want to be separated from them. And I think that the pandemic has not helped this dynamic because we were in a phase for a long time where other people really were like actually a source of contagion that could make us sick. And we talked on this show about cars as PPE and people using cars to protect themselves literally as like armor against the virus. And I think that Elon's whole aesthetic and gestalt really dovetails with that perfectly. So the same way that Elon Musk wanted to privatize the public space for transportation, smash public transit, and create a really privatized system there, it feels like in a slightly different way, he's also taken control of this public space for discourse that is Twitter and saying this should be privatized and this, should be exclusive in various ways. Like it's going to exclude people who don't want to rub elbows with Nazis or whatever. But this same idea of like privatizing a public space and really destroying it in the process.